Hey everybody, welcome to the Karate America live stream. It's great to have everybody with us. I'm Mrs. Quirk. With me tonight are Ms. Hansen, Mr. Quirk. So good to have you guys with us. Don't worry, we're going to bring their pictures in larger tonight. I just wanted to get through a couple of announcements here at the beginning of our live stream. So thank you again so much for joining us. If you are on our private group page right now, if you look above us in the comments, there is a link. We are streaming through StreamYard. So you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and that's how we'll actually be able to see your name later on in the broadcast when we're going to ask for your questions and comments. So be sure that you go there so that you don't just show up as Facebook user throughout the stream. Again, that's streamyard.com/Facebook to let us know who you are when you're leaving us a question. A couple announcements that my team wanted us to make tonight. We have candidate evaluation exams coming up for our brown belts and our brown stripe belts, March 9th and March 11th at 8 o'clock at KA Brookfield at 8 p.m. And if you are a KA Pewaukee family or student, that's going to be March 10th at 7:15 p.m. If you have any questions at all at Brookfield, you should see Ms. Hansen, Mr. Hansen at Pewaukee. Make sure you follow up with Mr. Kozlowski, Ms. Phillips, and they will give you all the information that you need. We got Legacy Night coming up. It's open to all of our leadership and legacy students. It's going to be Friday, March 19th, and that's going to be at our KA Brookfield location. It's going to be from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. So that's going to be an amazing opportunity for our legacy and our leadership students, Legacy Night. Mr. Pieper and Ms. DeWade, our worldwide team, are doing a virtual game show night via Zoom. This is like a virtual parents' night in. It's going to be for about 3 hours on a Saturday night, March 13th, from 6 to 9 p.m., $30 per student, but if your student brings a friend, it's free. I know Mr. Pieper just let us know that we have a student, a friend joining from another state, which is awesome. So cool. It's for young achievers and up. If you have any questions, talk to our team at either Brookfield or Pewaukee, or send Mr. Pieper and Ms. DeWade an email to karateamericainstructors@gmail.com, and they will answer your questions for you. You can sign up for that on our app, on our KA app. Last but not least, we got Spring Break Camp at our Brookfield Academy, March 26th through April 5th. This is open to the public, so if anybody watching knows somebody at work, a friend or family member, needs care for their kiddos over spring break, this is a fantastic spring break camp. It's going to be held at our Brookfield location, and you can also register for that on our KA app. So let's get to it. Let's bring our special guests in for the night. Mr. Quirk, owner of Karate America Brookfield, Pewaukee, and Worldwide. It's good to have you with us tonight, sir.
Great to be here.
And Ms. Hansen, you are our lead community builder at KA Brookfield. It's really fun to have you with us tonight. Thanks for making time to be on the stream.
Yeah, I'm excited to answer some questions and introduce what it's like to be a beginner at our school.
Yeah, definitely. So for any of our guests that are tuning in, if you'd like to let us know, we're going to try something a little fun here tonight. I know that we have some people watching from not only from Wisconsin, but from different states. I know we have people tuning in from Minnesota, from North Carolina, I think from Virginia, some other places around the country. Last time on our YouTube channel, we actually had somebody joining us from Pakistan. So we are truly Karate America Worldwide. So let us know in the comments. So cool. So where you're joining us from. And the other thing too is, let us know if you're one of our students, or if your loved one is one of our students. Let us know what color belt you are or your student is by leaving us some heart emojis. So if it's a green belt, leave us a green heart. A blue belt, leave us a blue heart, so we know who's joining us on the stream tonight in the community. We're going to have time later to take some questions and to share some insights from people in the community. But for now, I have a few questions to get us started. Mr. Quirk and Ms. Hansen.
Awesome.
So we were talking about our topic tonight is all things beginners. And one of the very first things that I think people want to know just right off the bat is, what are the programs at Karate America? I know we do karate, but what are our programs? What are the age breakdowns? How does that work?
Yeah, Ms. Hansen, why don't you go ahead and head that one up?
Awesome.
Our lead community builder.
So we have quite a few beginner programs, and they start from different age ranges. So we have our little ninjas that are about 3.5, 4-ish to about 6. Our young achievers, which are about 6 to about 8, 9-ish, and then our kids basic, which are 9 through about 13. And at that 13-year-old mark, we see branch into our teen and adult class. And that's basically 13 and up. If you're cleared by a doctor, you could be 70 and start our program.
Totally. And one of the things, Ms. Hansen, when you were given obviously the age breakdowns, there is a little bit of wiggle room, because ultimately each one of those programs is broken up by ability level, right? So age and ability level. So if you have a young 5-year-old, they may go to little ninjas, but if you have an older 5-year-old, they may jump up to young achievers. So we really do gauge it by the student's ability level.
Sure. Same with our younger teens and the adult class too, right, Mr. Quirk and Ms. Hansen? Totally. I know sometimes there's some flexibility just depending on where the individual student is at and where they're best going to be served. Yeah,
and safety is a big thing too. So if it's a smaller 13-year-old, we're definitely not going to put them into the adult class necessarily. So.
Oh, we got a blue belt and a purple belt joining us tonight. Facebook user. I don't see the name, but welcome blue belts and purple belts into the KA community live stream tonight. That is awesome.
Trying to think if I can figure it out based off of just those colors.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool though. A couple
Yeah.
quick notes on the programs though too. So so Ms. Hansen, you named a lot of the different actual martial arts programs.
Right.
But we also do have extra programs within that too, right? So we have summer camp, full day summer camp program. We have an after school program.
Mhm.
We have, you saw at the beginning of the announcements, was our legacy program. So our leadership and legacy is the actual instructor training program. So leadership is like the kid version of the instructor training, and then legacy would be the adult version of the instructor training. And quick note on your announcement, Mrs. Quirk, there will be, for those of you in leadership and legacy, there will be a virtual option for you for the legacy class coming up.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that, Mr. Quirk. Yeah. So if anybody feels more comfortable or for whatever reason you need to do it virtually, we have virtual legacy for you on that night.
Yeah.
So good to have the Jeske family with us tonight. We also have Mr. Orloff. My colors are off. I don't know if that's orange or red.
Orange and purple. Looks like orange and purple.
Orange and purple. Okay. All right. Yeah. Awesome. So another question is kind of piggybacking off of, the very, very first questions that we get asked by people, by families, by community members. They walk in the door, they look around the academy, they come to a very first event and they say, what do all these uniform colors mean? I'm noticing that everybody's not in the exact same uniform color. So Mr. Quirk, did you want to talk to us a little bit about our various uniform colors at Karate America?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. It's actually, usually it can be kind of a shock for people coming in. I mean, the way we greet people is different. There's different culture pieces, the uniforms, the way we speak to each other, the terminology we use. And I know we're going to talk a lot about that tonight, but the uniforms are just one piece. They're one tangible detail that goes into the whole just intangible culture that we've created. So we've got a bunch of different colors of uniforms that you'll see if you're a new student, and even if you're not, even if you've been with us for a while, you may not know what they are. But every new student will start off with a white uniform. So when you see a white uniform, it's a student that's usually been in the program for under 6 months. It can be a little bit longer, but generally it's going to be about 6 months. And then at some point they can transition to a blue uniform. So the blue uniform is a commitment level. It's basically a student saying, you know what, and a family together saying, we love the program. We know we're going to be black belts. So the blue uniform is just a representation of that commitment. Above that, then you'll see red uniforms. So any black belt in our system, once they become a black belt, they automatically receive a red uniform. So anybody you see in a red uniform is a black belt. Above that, we also have instructor uniforms. So you'll see black pants and a white top. That generally will symbolize or signify an instructor of some level. And then each instructor, we have actually collars. So as they get higher in the level, the collars will go from red to thin black, to thick red, to thick black. And those will signify the different instructor levels. And then the highest level of uniform that we have is the black uniform. And the black uniform is held by the chief instructor and the person who actually runs the academy. So that's a quick breakdown of all the uniforms. And the uniforms are designed to, signify different things in the system.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that you had a really interesting point, Mr. Quirk, and maybe you can chime in here too with your experience, Ms. Hansen, because I know this is something that you've actually done yourself, is just sort of piggybacking off the uniform color, the commitment to blue uniform. Right, when a student transitions from a white to a blue uniform. And you were sharing with me, Mr. Quirk, some of your insights on this earlier. I thought was really interesting when we talk about commitment and how it's kind of framed, especially to younger students and kids in our organization, where that blue uniform piece falls in. So could you speak a little bit about that, the blue uniform piece?
Yeah, I'll start it up, and then Ms. Hansen, you can go ahead and add whatever you'd like. So the blue uniform is just that. It's a commitment level, right? So at some point, a student and a family, they'll just know that black belt is where they want to go. Black belt is something that they want for their son or daughter. At that point, they make a mental, emotional, and physical commitment that they are going to do whatever it takes to become a black belt. So the blue uniform, we actually have a pamphlet, like a book that you have to go through, and you'll fill out a bunch of questions. Yeah, there you go. It's a black belt passport.
There we go.
Yeah, and there's actually questions in there that you'll go through with your family to see if the the blue uniform, is right for you. And I think, so it's really interesting, right? So kids aren't afraid of commitment. Who's afraid of commitment? Generally, adults are afraid of commitment, right? Mm-hmm. So the blue uniform is a great way for us to teach kids early on that a commitment can actually be a positive thing. It's a serious thing, but it's a positive thing. And the blue uniform can be used as kind of a reward for a student for making that commitment. So, and when they make that commitment to blue uniform, that's also a commitment from the instructors and our team to say, we are going to do whatever it takes to get you to black belt.
Yes, definitely.
What was your experience, Ms. Hansen? Because I know that you are somebody in our organization that has gone from white belt to white uniform to your blue uniform, and now you're one of our first degree black belts, so you've got a red master's team uniform. Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience for you?
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Put up some black hearts and black
Newly
emojis.
black belt, yeah.
I get to have one of those now.
Yeah, you do. You do, right?
Yeah, so for my experience earning my blue uniform, it was a matter of solidifying what I already knew about myself, that I was going to do this, that this was something that was in my path, like that it was going to happen. So Mr. Mealy handed it to me and he's like, all right, when are you going to do it? And I actually sat down in our after school activity room and wrote my own answers into this book. And it was really interesting to learn more about myself on my own journey and why did I want to do this? Why, what keeps me going? What's keeping me from quitting and from saying, no, I don't really want to do this. And a lot of it had to do with the community around me. So it's not just a commitment to myself, but it's a commitment to my loved ones to let them know, like, hey, I said I'm going to do this, and I'm showing each and every one of you that integrity, my word is my law. I am going to do this. And
Great
it's
use of
just
the
a
lifestyle,
really
by the way.
good, like, physical showing of that commitment.
Sure. Yeah. And I think it was thank you for that, Ms. Hansen. And I think too, we were talking earlier about how interesting, like how unique martial arts is and how unique it is in this program, Training at Karate America, because it is built in, it is baked into the cake of the program itself that at some point students are going to want to quit. And that seems a little counterintuitive, right? Like I only do something that I like, and then when I don't like it, or it's not fun, or it's not easy, I don't get whatever I got out of it, I stop doing it. And I think there's some families that like get it right away, and some families that are like, wait, what? Like, we totally 100% know that 99% of students, I mean, probably both of you're both black belts, right? And you've been training for years. And it's part of the program that somebody's going to want to quit. And we are there to sort of shepherd and guide that student through the ups and downs of that. Can you speak a little bit to that, a little more detail, Mr. Quirk?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so moms and dads, so let me be clear. You're new to the program, right? I think one of the biggest fears that a parent has, especially with the commitment to the blue uniform, is what happens if they want to quit. And the thing is they're going to want to quit. Every single one of our students at some point during their journey wants to quit. And I always tell my instructors, I say, look, if we're doing our job correctly, they're going to want to quit at some point, right? If it's easy all the way through and they never want to quit, it's like, it's not really going to mean much at the end.
Right.
And generally, we kind of have it mapped out. It's usually for most students, it's going to be right in that purple stripe, blue stripe area that they're going to start to lose interest, because that's when some of the newness wears off. That's when it starts to become harder work. They're held to a higher standard. So it's going to happen. Right. So moms and dads, just trust us, it's going to happen. The other side of it is that's why it's really important that you work with us. So at the first glimpse of them saying, hey, I don't want to go to class, or hey, that was tough, or I didn't have fun today, reach out to your instructor right away, because we're waiting for it. We know it's going to happen. The worst thing you can do is not say anything for 2 or 3 months, and then it'll just grow, it'll snowball, and by then it'll be too late. So, or it won't be too late. It'll just be much more difficult.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point, because most people that I know, they want their kids to go off into adulthood, certainly go off in their teen years, making good decisions and healthy decisions, and have some of that self-discipline, and have already experienced some of these really difficult things as kids in the safe environment with these mentors and guides around them to work through it, versus I've never had to work through something that I don't want to do, and I'm 28 or I'm 32 or 35. Right. That's a lot more difficult than it's going to happen to you when you're 12, and mom and dad and instructors and everybody's going to be right there with you and talk you through this and show you what commitment really looks like and feels like, because it's not always fun. And
if the instructors are doing a good job, they're going to keep tightening the screw, and they're going to keep tightening it, and they're going to be expecting more out of the student, to the point where, it's going to become tough. And then the instructor, that's where the relationship with the instructor is so important, because the instructor will then help them through that time. And that in that moment when they want to quit but don't, that's when they learn how not to quit. That's the only way to learn how not to quit, is to actually want to quit and not do it.
Right,
So
right.
There's no other way.
And I'm sure that you've had a number of those conversations up at the front desk in Brookfield, Ms. Hansen.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's always a really great, it's a good thing to hear from our parents who trust us to help them with this difficulty. When they tell us that, hey, you know, Johnny didn't have fun today, I don't think he's really enjoying class anymore. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
The gift to us as instructors and as a team, and it's a gift for our family to help them through those difficult times when we maybe want to quit and can learn through that. And so it's exciting. I don't always want to hear it. I don't want to hear that they want to quit, but I want to hear that they're trusting us in this situation.
Sure. Yep. And Mr. Hansen is chiming in here. The blue uniforms also promised ourselves that when we face adversity in our lives, we won't quit. We won't give up on achieving our goals, which I love.
From a pragmatic standpoint too, really quickly. So for parents, I know we talked about the theory behind blue uniform, but the practical side of it is if you want to talk about the blue uniform and have your son or daughter achieve it, the first step is just go grab the book. It is on the, right in the academy. If you're from our worldwide program, we can actually email you a copy of the book. And that is your first step in moving towards the blue uniform. And then you'll fill the book out, you'll turn it back in, and then you'll actually meet with your instructor and go over the answers. And
here's another interesting comment too. Mr. Orlop is saying parent participation in our worldwide classes has really helped with motivation. So we love to hear that too. And Ms. DeWade saying thanks for the feedback. Love hearing what works for families, especially in our worldwide virtual classes. So speaking of uniforms, so another first thing that usually draws people's eyes and attention is belt colors.
Yes.
So what do the belt colors mean? Why are the different belt colors? Especially for some of our virtual worldwide families who don't have that, they're not training there in a brick and mortar academy to sort of see all the belts lined up, in front of them above the mirrors. So what do the belt colors mean? Who wants to take this one?
You want me to grab this one, Ms. Hansen?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, great. So my instructor told me, and that has been passed down to us, is the belt colors. It's actually quite an interesting story. So every student starts off with a white belt. So back in the olden days, whatever the olden days were, every student would start off with a white belt, and they would keep that same belt all through their training. And what happens to something white when we wear it a lot, right? So it starts to get sweat and starts to turn yellow. Which is kind of like the gold belt. And then as a student is training more and more, they're getting thrown and they're, rolling in the grass because they didn't have nice, facilities with mats and everything to train in. And slowly that belt would get more and more stained. It would show more and more wear, blood, sweat, and tears. And slowly it would darken over time. So the black belt truly was a symbol of all the hard work that student had put in. And by the end, the more work they did, the darker it got.
Mm.
Yes, a white belt is a black belt that never gave up, right?
Totally. Yep.
Yes, ma'am. And what about, I know some people might not understand it. We have our little ninjas that have the half belts. We've got belts with stripes. Somebody want to talk about the differences between the little ninja young achiever and then the regular solid belts?
Yeah, I can work on that one. So our little ninja belts, you'll notice if any of you guys have seen them, they're half white, half color belt. And the intention for our little ninjas is to have that motivation, the earning of the different belts as they learn those core skills that will prepare them for their black belt journey. So there's where we're working on focus, self-discipline, courage, all those things that our little guys haven't quite mastered just yet in order to be on the path to black belt. And that way they're prepared once they jump into young achievers to be able to stand on their dot without wiggling and squiggling and have that confidence to bring their voice out and have the focus to know what to do next and follow the directions. And so that's where those half belts come, where they're still earning belts. They're still working towards their goals, but not quite yet to black belt.
And
I'll just add something to that too.
Yeah.
So when I actually added those belts a long time ago to the Little Ninjas program, and the concept was, they didn't get the full colors because kind of like a glass of water, it's slowly filling up with the color. So the little ninjas, that's why they're half colors, because their knowledge is slowly starting to fill.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. So if you are just joining us on the live stream, we have Mr. Quirk and Ms. Hansen. We are talking about all things beginners. And what I'd love to see, like I said earlier, is if you or whoever in your family is a certain belt color, go ahead and leave us some heart emojis. And I know some people earlier were doing a black heart and then saying 3rd degree. Go ahead and leave 3 black hearts, or 4 black hearts, or 2 black hearts if you're advanced degree, or your son or daughter or spouse is an advanced degree black belt. So far tonight, we've got some gold hearts, we've got some red hearts, purple hearts. Love to see that. I don't see any white hearts yet for our white belts. Come on, this is supposed to be a beginner live stream. So where are our beginner families and beginner students, right?
We have a 3rd degree black belt in here with like the beginner mindset, ready to learn.
Absolutely.
Right? Some black belts, there's a lot of black belts in the industry that think they know everything, right? There's a lot of ego, but that 3rd degree black belt is here ready to learn. I love it.
That's a great point. So going back a little bit to, I love what you said, Ms. Hansen, about the little ninjas and sort of just learning what it means to be. That program is really about just what it means to be a karate student, getting ready to be a karate student. And Mr. Quirk, you and I have talked a few times over the years about, I think when families first join and students first join our programs, historically, one of the first things families look for and parents look for is technique. Right. Even though what they came to us for is focus, self-discipline, confidence, listening skills, these kinds of things. What we hear quite often is, oh, he's not punching right, and he's not pivoting, and the instructor didn't correct this, and they're very focused on technique. So can you talk about that a little bit, that concept of being heavily focused on technique at Little Ninjas, at Young Achiever, and especially a lot of the beginner belts for our newer students?
Yeah, totally. I'll take that one, Ms. Hansen.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting. I was actually just talking to the legacy team about this a couple of weeks ago. And I got this saying from a colleague of mine, another martial artist in the industry. And I thought it was perfect. So what we teach, the karate, the actual physical technique, it's free, right? Our parents, our families, they're not paying for karate. That's free. What they're paying for is the discipline and the confidence and the respect and the ability for that student to make hard decisions in the heat of the moment, get better grades at school, not fight as much with brother and sister. So it's the whole person, right? That's what we're really trying to train. And the biggest mistake, so if you're a brand new parent, the biggest mistake that I see a lot of parents make is they don't really know what to look for while watching class. So the only thing they can really point out is the physical. So, the instructor says, twist your foot, and the student's not twisting their foot. And it's really easy to zero in on that and be like, well, why isn't anybody correcting the pivot?
Sure.
And the thing is the instructors are looking for about 30 other things besides that pivot. The pivot is really important. The side kick, the technique to us is really important. You're going to see our students are really, really good. But that is about that for us, for the instructors, that's the easy part. So if the student is training long enough, all the physicality will come and they'll be good. So what we're looking at, though, is like 5-10 layers deep. Is the student listening the first time they told? Is there trust being built with the instructor? Are they doing it with a smile? Even when they make a mistake, are they still giving it their all? Because those things are the foundation of becoming a fantastic martial artist. If you give me those, if you give me a student with a great foundation, I can teach them any physical technique that I know in the world. Yeah. So that's really, for me, that's what it's about. So moms and dads, don't zero in on the technique. That's why you have us. We know what the technique should look like.
Well, what's really great about that too is I can't tell you how much feedback we've received from families about how their student is doing as a person more than their technique. I hear, one of our students, she got in front of her class and did a presentation and wasn't scared. 3 years ago, that wasn't possible. And that has nothing to do with karate, like the physical side of karate. And so all of those stories about those other behaviors that they originally came here for are really what it is that we hear about, that we hear at the end of their journey. I don't hear much about, I hear very good things about their karate, but at the end of the day, are they a good person? Have they grown in the ways that count as a human being? And so those are the stories we hear at the end of the day. And if you scroll through our Facebook page, there's plenty of testimonies to those attributes that our students are learning.
Right. And we got, looks like we do actually have some beginner families with us tonight. We got a gold and white heart. We got, looks like Mr. Fenstermaker. I hope I didn't butcher your name too badly, sir. gold and white belt. So it's awesome to have you guys on the stream with us tonight. And make sure, guys, really shortly here, we are going to transition to be taking your questions and hopefully having you share some insights, whether you have been, like I said in the comments, whether you've been with Karate America for a few days or a few decades. We want to hear about your experiences. Maybe it was your experiences or some questions that you have about your first few classes, your first few weeks. Maybe you now are an advanced degree black belt, a family that's been with us for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And this new part of your journey now, you are a beginner at advanced degree black belt in this aspect of your journey. What are some of your questions or insights with this new beginning in your journey? You know, I had some communication with a student the other day, and I did not know who the student was at first. And it was not registering in my brain because the first time I met him, he was 6 years old doing his orientation. And I was like, who is this person? And he's like 17 now or 16. And, you know, and it struck me that that's a whole new, part of our journey in martial arts. What maybe a family of a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 3-year-old, now when they transition through the belts and life changes and school and friend dynamic changes, how are we each a beginner in our new phases as we go forward in martial arts and kids get older and families change and the world changes. So we're all beginners in some way, right? In some way, shape, or form, each one of us. So.
Well, yeah, and right. So the beginner mindset that's the most important piece. I mean, that's why. So for families who don't, you know, who are new, there's a lot of different things that we do. For instance, we bow into the academy. Our students bow on and off the floor. So why do we do that, right? What is the bow about? For us, I mean, traditionally, obviously, a bow will show respect, but we like to go one step farther. And my instructor always said, picture there's a teacup on top of your head. And whenever you walk into the academy, you bow, and everything that's been filling that teacup throughout the day empties, and you're ready to learn. So that's why we bow before we enter the floor, to show that we're ready to learn. And the other part about the bow too is the students aren't bowing to the instructor. It's both. The instructor is also bowing and showing respect to the student. So the student is saying, I'm here, I'm going to do what I can to learn, be the best student possible. And when the instructor bows back, they're saying, I'm going to be the best instructor for you that I can be. I'm going to keep you safe, and I'm going to help you grow as a person. So that's what our bow symbolizes. And it's all new.
And you bring up a really good point there with the bow, Mr. Quirk. Can you talk a little bit, because I know that our system, Karate America, a lot of times people are like, well, what kind of martial arts is it? What style is it? I mean, we actually have some families and some students that don't 100% know what our style is. In our area in southeastern Wisconsin, I know we have people tuning in all over the country, but in our area, traditional Taekwondo there are a lot of schools out there that do traditional Taekwondo. On the East Coast and West Coast, there are a lot of Kempo styles that are more popular. So what is Karate America? What is our martial arts style? Speak a little bit about that, because I love that we do weave some traditional things in, but we also have some modern pieces too.
Yeah, great question. So the bulk of our program is actually based on Taekwondo. But Mr. Reed is the founder of Karate America, and he is an amazing martial artist. But back in the day, he was also just an amazing kickboxer. So he would get in the ring and he would fight and win everything, right? Oh, yeah. And what he started to realize is that different styles have different strengths and different weaknesses. So he started to combine the styles together, and he has Taekwondo, he has kickboxing. We do some judo. There's some jujitsu actually that we have thrown into our program. There's a large portion of kickboxing that we have in our program. And the cool part about it is he blended it all together for something that a 6-year-old can do or an adult mom or dad can do. So what we don't do is we don't train fighters to get in the ring. That's just not who we are. So it's a blended style, more about becoming just fantastic martial artists and obviously fantastic people too. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know that back like in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I became aware of the Karate America system, I was actually out on the East Coast, but Karate America was a really well-known system all over the country. And that style of martial arts, I don't know if we're still using the term, but it was like American sport karate, American sport martial arts. So not the same sort of like MMA mixed martial arts, but like you said, just a really blended practical piece that Karate America really made famous throughout the whole country in the martial arts industry. So we have somebody, go for it, Mr. Quirk.
One point on that, was a great evolution because it was a sport karate back then. And I mean, I remember we would go to tournaments and we would literally, because there were so many Karate Americas, in Wisconsin, we were based in Wisconsin. I think there was 25 of them at one point or something, but we would literally take up whole floors of hotels to go into competitions, and we would just wipe out the whole tournament with trophies and things like that. And it was just, that's what we did. We ate, lived, and breathed tournaments. And the great thing about Mr. Reed is he evolves and he evolved the system more so away from that, because there's only so much depth you can get out of sport karate, right? So he started to move even into just a broader, broader program altogether.
Yeah.
So I don't consider it sport karate anymore.
Yeah, good point. We have Facebook user, as an adult martial arts has helped me in my career with calming down a hectic situation and come out with a positive solution. I love that. Ms. Hansen, you joined the program as an adult. You are still an adult student. So can you speak a little bit about, for adult students? I know we focus a lot on kids, which is great. What your experience has been training in the martial arts as an adult student?
Yeah, my experience has been great. But what was really cool is I had somebody, Mr. Hansen, obviously, come to me and be like, "You're going to do karate," and I was like, okay. and from there, at the time, I wasn't working at Karate America. At the time, I was working somewhere else, and coming in and seeing the team and getting to let out some of just the negatives of the day onto the floor, leaving it all on the mat, getting to let out the frustrations of non-karate life. Was
the real world, right?
Yes. Yes. The world. Was really therapeutic and really awesome to come in and have a really positive atmosphere to come into, because as an adult, I think the biggest fear that I had was I'm going to look stupid and I'm going to make a fool of myself and people are going to judge me. And that's completely the opposite of my first day on the floor. My first day on the floor, I had not just the team, but the other adult students were like, "Hey, welcome to class. Come join us. Here's what you got to do." And so we had this really fun atmosphere of adults who understood, like, I was there on my first day too. I felt the same way you did. And I mean, even when my mom joined in last year, she had the same worries, the exact same worries. I think on the board. And what's really cool is we had a teenager in the class, Gabe. I don't know if he's joining us or if his family's joining us tonight on here, but she will always remember this point where they were doing wall kicks and he was behind her and he's like, "You got this, Mrs. Hansen." And it's 14-year-old kids cheering on my mom in class. And she's like, I loved it. After any moment after that, I can always remember that I had someone in that class who, as much as they didn't know each other at all, had that support. So it's really cool that as an adult, we've got that community.
Well, I love that. And, we don't just throw around the term KA community. I mean, we literally mean it. It is truly not just a brick and mortar place. We always say we're a purpose, not a place. So even our worldwide students that aren't even in Wisconsin are training with us virtually worldwide. And I love that community aspect of our organization. We have a Facebook user saying 2 actions of courage and 1 action of leadership from our students were shared with us in the last 4 days. Very cool. Very cool. One question that I wanted to get to, and then we're going to jump into hopefully any of you tuning in, listening, you've got some questions, go ahead, please put them in the comments. We'll be sure to ask Mr. Quirk, Ms. Hansen. This is your chance. If anything ever just struck you as interesting or weird that you wanted to clarify or ask about, something that you've always wanted to ask, now is your chance. Put them in the comments. But one thing that one thing that we do get asked is, what are these things that are being said out on the floor? We're hearing "aya," we're hearing "chumbi," we're hearing "might something right." Can you talk about some of our audibles and some of our call and response that families might hear in our classes?
Yeah, or outside, right? So you tell somebody you do martial arts, that you do martial arts. What's the first thing that people do when you tell them you're a martial artist?
Yeah.
Right.
The whole thing. So
I'm not gonna mess with you. Yeah.
Right. So there's some call and responses and things that we do, but generally you're going to hear. So we do, say yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am. We do use surnames. It's just who we are. The noises that they're actually making on the floor, though, it's aya. It's a yell. So if I had to spell it, it's IYAA. And the concept is it forces me to breathe. And at the same time, it forces me to clench and deliver power right at the point of impact. So there's two things happening. There's actually three things happening. One is the breathing. Two is the tightening at the point of impact. And the third is just that loud vocalization, which, for our students, for young ones, can help build confidence too. And then the other ones are, you'll hear TSA, which is tsa. And again, it's just a form of breathing and a form of exhaling while we deliver a technique.
Yes. Yeah.
And what about the end, sir? What about might for right?
Ms. Hansen, why don't you take this one?
Yeah. So
please take this one.
You'll hear us at the end of every class, every time we do our martial arts, we say might for right. And it's a promise. It's a promise to ourselves. It's a promise to our community that all of the martial arts that I've learned today, it's represented as a fist. I'm only going to use it for the right reasons. And so I cover it up and I'm going to use it responsibly. For our kids, that means if I want to practice, I ask permission first. I'm not doing it towards my brothers, my sisters, the cats, dogs. It's a promise to take what I've learned and use that responsibility in a way that's positive, in a good way that helps live purpose, not just for ourselves, but for those around us.
Yeah, I love the thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes the motto of the bully and flips it on its head. So the motto of the bully is might makes right. I'm stronger, so therefore, guess what? It's my way or the highway. And I'm going to use my strength to sort of hammer people into submission. Might for right. I love it because it's just, to your point, Ms. Hansen, whatever my strength is, how will I use my might for right to go out and do good and to support others and lift people up. So it's a really inspiring thing for us to see at the end of class.
And it goes back to our technique, right? We talked about the whole person, but our students have a really good technique. And what I say is I want my students to be able to punch a hole through somebody, but never have to, right? To have all the skills and techniques available to not ever have to use it. But
sure.
If they do, guess what? They have access to it.
Yeah. So we have Ms. DeWade sharing, my first day here, fresh from another school, a 3rd degree black belt let me have the last dot and trained in the back row the whole class. That showed me more about our community than any amount of training. Very cool. We have Ms. Hansen, you have inspired somebody to join classes. Woo!
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that an adult? Yeah, that is great.
Yeah. And oh, look who we have jumping right on that. Ms. DeWade, Mr. Pieper, signing her up for Worldwide.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's public, guys. She's joining tomorrow.
It's public.
There's the public commitment. I love it.
If you're an adult out there, the two biggest fears that adults have is one, they're going to look stupid, and two, they're going to get hurt.
Yep.
And look, I've been doing this for 31 years now. We wouldn't be successful if we were making people look stupid and hurting them, right? Yep. So just come in and give it a try.
Yep. And we were actually just talking in our Worldwide meeting today. We are calling it Worldwide, and that's not just sort of like a hokey thing. We literally want this program can be worldwide. We're having more adults statistically join our worldwide classes, our virtual worldwide classes, than even our brick and mortar classes. We have people now joining from, you're going to have to help me out with states here, Ms. DeWade and Mr. Pieper, if you're watching, but I think we have, I know we have Virginia, Minnesota. We're going to soon have New York City, Ohio, and Washington, D.C. So we are truly, a lot of our adults that don't want to deal with traffic or gas mileage, or, if you have a friend or loved one that lives in a big city and doesn't feel like taking 3-4 subway transfers to go to a martial arts class, send them our way. They can take some of the best karate in the whole country with our worldwide team. It's really exciting. So
I'm excited. I want to see who our first international student is going to be. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you could be literally our first international.
Yes. Mr. Pieper and Ms. DeWade are chomping at the bit to have like a globe that lights up in the background. I said, we're going to get them a map with all the pinpoints, but then eventually we're going to have the globe with like the countries, Okay, so we're starting to get some questions, and we have one here. Mr. Quirk, big question. Savannah has earned her red braid and onto her black belt. Shows what she has at class, but shy with friends. Any suggestions?
So if I'm reading this right, she's earned a red braid for leadership, right? Oh, so she's basically showing that intensity in class, and she's showing the yells and everything's in class, but she's having trouble with that outside.
Yeah, that's how I knew
Interesting.
that.
So I would be curious, I would be interested with her to talk to her about where that shyness is coming from. One, does she have a great group of friends that is really supportive of her? And two, I'm going to assume she does, right? Great people usually have great friends. But what I would suggest to her is, what is that thing that you do in martial arts that makes you feel really good? So where do you feel most confident on the floor? It's not necessarily, it can't be about the kick that you're doing. It's got to be about the feeling the things that you tell yourself while you're throwing that kick, saying things like, wow, that was a good one. I did a good job. So how do we transition that to school? How, when you're at school, walking down the hallway, and when we get back to school, right? Or when you're working with your friends, how do you say those same things to yourself about, I don't know, drawing a picture or singing a song or, something activity that you're doing with your friends? That same self-talk is going to be really important, because here's the thing is, you are good, right? You just have to remind yourself of that outside of the academy, not only inside.
Yeah, and the karate class is
huge.
proof positive, right?
Yeah.
That she is good, that she is a leader, that she's confident. So
yeah, Savannah's awesome.
Most people are afraid of being judged, right? It's like that's a huge fear. What are people really afraid of? They're afraid of a lot of times being judged.
Yeah.
So what if you just had the confidence and the courage to just try? I bet your friends wouldn't judge you. And if they do judge you, find new friends.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Ms. DeWade is Ohio, Virginia, Minnesota, New York, DC, and Illinois. Thank you very much, Ms. DeWade, for clarifying that. And hopefully from our YouTube channel, I know last week we had somebody from Pakistan. So if you want to join and be our first international student, like Mr. Quirk says, go for it. We would love to have you. So if you have any questions, we are wrapping up here on our live stream. Guys, I said tonight, I was like, last time with Mr. Hansen, I said 15, 20 minutes. We went 59 minutes and 10 seconds. I haven't put that down yet, but it was just so much fun. The conversation gets really, really fun. So tonight we're wrapping up here. We're heading into our hour. If anybody watching has a quick question, anything you want to share, insight, any question for Mr. Quirk, Ms. Hansen, now is the time to ask. But while we are winding down here, guys, Ms. Hansen, if you could, captive audience, if you could say anything to our new beginners, our new families, what would be the one thing that you would say to a new Karate America community member?
What I would say, give it some time. We're not going to become black belt confident, focused leaders overnight. What you came in here for, it takes days to learn. It takes days. It takes, what is it, Mrs. Quirk? It's 66 days to build a habit, minimum.
You got it.
So as we're growing and learning, appreciate their journey, appreciate who they were when they started, and all of the great things that they've unlocked within themselves. So in that spirit of things, make sure that you're appreciating the growth that they did as an individual, your student, because someone else is on their own journey. Don't worry about them.
Nice. We have a Facebook user. I love this. My girls were at karate in the Pewaukee location. We hung in with the virtual stuff until midsummer, then we lost touch. How do we get them back in? Great question.
And let me say too, for all the families, like March 15th hit and everything closed, right?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, last year. And we literally turned everything virtual in like 2 days. So the whole team was just, they were just amazing. But the way we run virtual classes now is completely different than the way we ran virtual classes at the very beginning. All the classes are now segmented out where it's limited number of kids in each class. The curriculum is geared towards them. It's actually gets a lot more parent activity involved too. So it's a great bonding experience. So coming back now is fantastic. It'll be a different experience for you.
We got team members jumping in there. Yeah,
I think Mrs. Gray said she'll call her.
She's going to call you tomorrow.
You're going to get bombarded.
We got Ms. DeWade saying, here's our email address. So
I just love it. These guys, and for us, that's what it's about. It's like, how do we build our community? How do we grow it? Right.
Right. Because we know, one of the reasons I think we can talk for an hour or more about stuff like this and why we're so on purpose about this is every single one of us, whether we are training ourselves or one of our loved ones, one of our families, our lives have been changed through martial arts and through purpose and values with the K8 organization. So we are true believers. Like, this isn't smoke and mirrors. We honestly, earnestly, truly in our hearts believe and know that what we do through this program, it not only changes kids and people, but it literally changes generations.
Yeah.
It's such important stuff. So if you have ever been in our program, taken a class, life happened, and you've been out of touch for a while, just please give us a call, send us an email. It's never too late to come back. We would love to have you come back and have a chance to change your life and your family's life.
And if you've had, so many years ago, we had a lot of people, Mrs. Quirk, you and I, we'd talk to, friends and family, and they'd be like, man, we wish we had something like your program around us. It's like,
yeah,
I think our families can be a little spoiled too, in the fact that they don't really know what else is out there. I mean, I would encourage you, if you're ever out and about, moms and dads, walk into some other academies and just ask some questions. But the point is that with our virtual worldwide program now, we can offer that to people from other states and other communities.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to be able to have that impact, right?
Right. And when we go visit friends and family out of state, they're like, oh, it's too far to drive. And it's like, well, now it's in your living room if you have Zoom. So woo-hoo.
You have Mr. Pieper and Mr. Wade.
Yes. Yep. We got what time and day is the adult class. And Mr. Pieper saying, I will email you all the information. And this is a great comment too from Mr. Orlock. We've been remote for a year now, and my girls felt a lull in summer too. Mr. Pieper and Ms. DeWade have kicked it into high gear lately. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Orlock. That means a lot. We've been working really hard, and Mr. Pieper and Ms. DeWade have been working really, really hard to just bring the caliber of the virtual worldwide program up. And, Mr. Quirk and I have some contacts out in the industry. Mr. Quirk, more than me, knows what's going on just all around the country with virtual martial arts. And I don't say this lightly, but I truly believe we have the highest caliber virtual worldwide program out there right now. I don't think any other martial arts organization is doing what we're doing behind the scenes to just try to bring the very best product to our families. So yeah. I'm really proud of what this team is doing. Mr. Pieper, Ms. DeWade, and everybody who supports them, Mr. Hansen, Ms. Hansen, Mrs. Bray, just deserve all the credit in the world for the caliber that you're experiencing right now with the worldwide program.
And you too, Mrs. Quirk. I mean, you've been leading that team up, meeting with these guys every week. And the question is always not how do we grow the program? The question is, how do we make it better? Right. How do we get a better experience for our students? And
right. Because, our purpose, we're going to have an upcoming episode. We're going to go over purpose and values. But our purpose is we inspire people to believe in themselves. And when COVID hit, we're not going to talk about all things that happened when COVID hit because it's a new year and we're staying positive. Right. But one of the things was we pivoted to virtual, and it was kind of like, is this going to just be a stopgap for a while? And what's really exciting now, a year later, is it's its whole own program that, to your point, Mr. Quirk, is touching lives and changing lives and families all over the United States, hopefully all over the world. I mean, talk about making lemonade out of lemons,
Right.
So it's just really excited. And our team was like, what do we say to a challenge? Bring it on. There was no fear. But we haven't done this before. It was like, here we go. So just so inspiring. Thanks, Ms. DeWade. Does anybody else have just last call for questions for Mr. Quirk, Ms. Hansen, and then we are going to call it for the second KA community live stream. I just want to thank everybody so much for joining in the live stream. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. We haven't done anything with our YouTube channel for a while, but we're going to start building it up and putting some more content on there. And the name of our channel has recently changed. So if you're on YouTube, just go ahead and search. It's Karate America Community. The name of our YouTube channel is Karate America Community. We actually now, some Facebook user, we miss Karate, we miss Family Karate Virtual. Well, we're here for you. So get in touch with Mr. Pieper, Ms. DeWade. You don't have to miss any of that anymore. Mr. Quirk, what was your first class like? Okay, we got a final question here from Mr. Pieper, and it's a good one.
Wow, where to even start? I'm still here, right? I was actually the first student in the academy. So I grew up in Portage, and there was no martial arts or anything like that in the area. And I remember my best friend called me and said, there's a martial arts school coming to town, and they're going to do a demonstration. I remember I was on the phone, and kids nowadays won't know, but it had the whole curl, like the long curl cord that was for the wall, right? And I remember running into the other room with the phone. I asked my mom my mom and dad, if I could go to the demo, and they promptly said no. And they said no because they thought I would beat my brother up, like that would ever happen, right? But eventually, kids can. I convinced them to let me go to the demo, and I was just hooked. I mean, I was the first student in. I was the first black belt out. I mean, we did karate on wooden floors, like hardwood floors. No air conditioning. We had a little fan, just one little fan about that big up in the corner. It was pretty intense. Just scrawny little, kid with my white uniform on. It was fun. I was hooked. I mean, the moment my instructor made me feel that success, I was hooked.
My how things have changed with hardwood floors and nails sticking up and no air conditioning. And
I tell my staff, we used to have to go around. They had replaced the hardwood floor with a big piece of plywood. So we'd have to go around and pound the nails back into the floor because they would slowly work their way out of the floor during the day.
All right, I know I keep saying one more, but we have an awesome comment here from Facebook user Aiden loves in person, but has some anxiety going back. With the convenience of the virtual, it has been perfect and improving with every class. Thanks, KA team. Thank you so much for that feedback. Yes. That means so much to us. And like I said, our team works so hard every single day, no drama, no exaggeration, at how to make the classes more effective. So thank you so much for that feedback. Really means a lot. All right, guys, we are just shorter than Mr. Hansen's episode because he was 59 minutes, 10 seconds. We're going to come in here at about 58 minutes. We're going to end the live stream tonight. So thank you everyone who joined us, who left comments, who left heart emojis, who gave us questions. Thank you. We will see you next week. Thank you, Mr. Quirk and Ms. Hansen, for your time tonight. It was great having you on as our special guests. We will be doing these live streams every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. Next week is the 10th, March 10th, and that means our special guests are going to be none other than our worldwide team, Mr. Pieper and Ms. DeWade. And we also are going to have a special guest. Some virtual students from out of state are going to come join us and talk to us about their experience as worldwide virtual students. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for your support, guys. Have a great rest of your night. Mr. Quirk, Ms. Hansen, thank you again. Stay on purpose. Final comment from Mr. Pieper. Woot.
Mr. Pieper.
Taking us out on a high note, sir. All right, guys. Thanks everyone. Everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.